This video is for many of my family and friends, including many of you out there in the interwebs. Thank you for being my friends. Today, I want to talk about why you should consider buying a Tesla even if you hate Elon Musk. So let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit into politics and stuff. I'm going to talk about Elon Musk and what I think are some public relations mistakes he has made lately and why they really actually matter, even though a lot of people say they don't. But first, I'm going to talk about the positives and why you should buy a Tesla. I will put chapter markers in here so you can skip the other half if you're not interested. I'm going to start with the positive by looking at this post from James Dauma and the picture that comes along with this. This is directly from Tesla. Anyway, James said, Tesla's ADAS reduces accidents. If you have a Tesla, you should use the ADAS. And ADAS, by the way, stands for Automated Driver Assistance Systems. Many cars have them, but Teslas are far superior to most vehicles. If you don't have one, in other words, a Tesla, you should consider getting one and use the ADAS. Every single thing about auto accidents is terrible, and I've been in a few in my life and had people that I know who've been in them. They are absolutely awful. You don't want them. And we now have the technology to reduce accidents dramatically. So James says that very, very succinctly. I'm going to say it a little bit more longer-winded, but I'm going to try to show you why it's so important that you consider purchasing a Tesla and how they're not as expensive as you might think. Even if you don't have enough money to spend, what you might think is $50,000 for a new car, you can get one for substantially cheaper than that. So let's blow up the image that James posted along with his post. And by the way, hello, James. It was nice to talk to you during the We Robot event. That was really lovely to have breakfast with you and a bunch of other friends. Anyway, you can see here that 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, halfway through 2024, we've got Tesla's report on autopilot safety. The blue line is Tesla's on autopilot. That's not just full self-driving, but also traditional autopilot. If you don't purchase full self-driving, you still get these safety features. It doesn't drive you around from destination to destination without you intervening, but it still has all of the safety features. So this includes full self-driving and just traditional autopilot, just to be clear. And then we have on the red bar, we have human beings driving Teslas, and then we have the national average in the United States, according to NHTSA. So the national average for the past several years has been about 500,000 miles between accidents. In other words, if you took your car out and drove around for 500,000 miles, it would take you as an individual quite a while to do that. But if you drove for 500,000 miles, the odds are at that point like 50-50 that you would have an accident. If on the other hand, you look at Teslas being driven by humans without any automated safety, stuff running or anything like that, you can see that it is safer. Even if a human drives a Tesla, there are some safety features built in that can allow you to get out of accidents. And so it's not surprising that this average would be higher than the national average. For example, if somebody was trying to cut into your lane, you might be able to accelerate more rapidly and more instantaneously than a gas car, which could get you out of that situation. The car can do automatic lane correction, even if you're driving yourself, to push you back into a lane if you've started to drift off, like if you got tired or something, and other cases like that. So anyway, it makes it safer than the national average, but basically humans are humans. So unfortunately, we don't have exact divisions here, but somewhere around 1,000,000 miles per intervention, so about double what it is for the national average to drive a Tesla. So that part on its own is great. That's twice as many miles that you could drive without an accident. But then we include ADAS up here, and you can look at not only is it substantially higher than either of these, but it's actually going up. And that's even more important because that means it's only going to get better. And remember, with Teslas, you get over-the-air software updates. If your car is a 2019 or 2020, you still get software updates. You still get advantages of this new software without having to do anything. It just downloads to your vehicle and installs overnight. So if you look at this, we're at a rough ballpark of 7 million miles now between accidents, right? So that would be, you would drive 7 million miles. This is something that I don't know that most of us drive in our lifetimes. 500,000 miles, I certainly have driven over 500,000 miles in my lifetime. And I've been involved in one very serious accident and a couple of fender benders. So, I guess the average is that's about right, that I've been involved in that much stuff. But as you see here, a Tesla goes 7 million miles, and I doubt that I will ever drive that many miles in my lifetime. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to think about it for a while, but let's be generous and say 20,000 miles per year. And if you say I've been driving 40 years, it's actually been a little more than that. So 40 years times 20,000 miles a year would be about 800,000 miles. I think that's generous. It's probably more like 500,000. But anyway, I'm not even close to 7 million miles. But look at this. We're talking about 14 times the number of miles driven between accidents for driving a regular vehicle versus driving a Tesla and using their their autopilot or full self-driving software. 14 times. And as James said, every single accident is terrible. Even fender benders are terrible. They really, really ruin your day. If something bad happens, like a very serious accident, I mean, it can kill you, right? Or it can permanently disable you or somebody else that you hit. That could be a terrible thing to be involved in an accident as well. My one son, somebody turned directly into him. He was behind a truck doing 45 miles an hour, completely legally, by the way. And this person just turned and came right out from a truck, right from behind it. He had no opportunity to brake or whatever, hit them at 45 miles an hour. It flipped their car over. Thank goodness they were okay. But I mean, the car was completely totaled. He was okay, but both cars were completely destroyed, and he lost kind of the love of his life, the car that he always wanted. He always wanted a Toyota Tundra. He wasn't able to afford to replace it, and so it's had a bad effect on his life for years after that, that he's been driving a vehicle that he's not as happy with as he was with that original vehicle. So even though, physically everybody was okay, there was a lot of emotional damage, there was financial damage, there was all sorts of bad things that happened, and that was a, kind of best case major accident. Things can be substantially worse than that. So if you can decrease your odds by 14 times of getting in an accident, wouldn't you want to do that? Even more importantly, let's say you're married, or even more importantly, let's say you have children or you have elderly parents or something. Wouldn't you want them to be safe as well? You don't want your 16 or 17-year-old child out there driving around and getting in an accident. That's a terrible thing. I mean, this has happened, like I said, to my child. He was 21 at the time, but still, it was an absolutely tragic, horrible accident. Really, really upsetting. It's very bad if it happens to you. It's even worse if it happens to a family member or a parent or a spouse or something like that. So this is the kind of thing you can avoid by purchasing a Tesla. So of course, the next thing that most people tell me is they're just too expensive. I can't afford a new one. And yeah, the new ones are rather expensive. But if we look right here, we can see, we've got some that are a little more expensive, like $33,000. But if we go down here to something like a 2020 Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, perfectly good car. That's the car that we have. Ours is a 2023, not a 2020, but it's the same car. You can see that this is $27,000. And if this is the first time that a person has sold that vehicle, then you can actually get $4,500 more off of that vehicle by purchasing the first time you buy it used. So that reduces the price to under $23,000. This has only got 49,000 miles, and this is just a very quick search on CarMax. I didn't do any kind of real research here. So you can see that there are a range of vehicles here for prices that are more and more affordable. So as I told Brandon from Car Questions Answered, I highly recommend getting a 2020 model, or at the very least a late 2019 model. You want to get the hardware 3 in it, not hardware 2.5. So just pay attention to that. You will have to pay a little bit more. But this is not something that is out of the question for many people, right? Especially with that $4,500 tax break. Don't forget about that. That reduces the cost of this vehicle to something pretty darn reasonable. So of course, yes, not everyone can afford this yet, but eventually this will trickle down. Tesla will produce cheaper vehicles that people can purchase that are less expensive to buy, and that will make it available to more and more people. But if you can afford this, why are you not purchasing a Tesla? And if you have a Tesla, why do you not use autopilot or full self-driving most, if not all of the time? So this brings us back to James Dalma's post, and this is where I'm going to start getting into politics. So I'll put a chapter marker here. Stop watching if you don't want to listen to this kind of thing. Anyway, Elon Musk, appropriately enough, replied to this saying autopilot is a major safety improvement. And he's absolutely right. I mean, that's just the facts here. You're just looking at a chart that shows the facts very, very plainly. But now we get to the other side of this coin. I have family members, I have friends, I have acquaintances that have told me this, that they will never purchase a Tesla due to what Elon Musk has said and done, particularly politically, particularly in the last 6 months to 1 year. I know that people like Stephen Mark Ryan poo-poo this and say there is no chance that this has any real effect, but it has to have an effect. I mean, just the political aspect of it, if you look at just the United States, forget about the rest of the world. It's easy to look at the US right now because we're, 2 weeks out from an election right now. And literally half the country, in fact, a little more than that, because Harris will almost definitely win the popular vote. So a little more than half the country of voting age people, which also happens to be people who can drive vehicles as well, a little more than half of them completely completely disagree with the political stance that Elon Musk has taken, and he's been very outspoken about that. Now, I have no problem with people exercising their First Amendment rights. I am doing that right now, by the way, as a personal citizen, not as a representative of anybody else but myself, just to be very clear. But I'm exercising my First Amendment rights by having a chat about this. And what I'm saying here is, regardless of what people like Stephen Mark Ryan say about not having an effect on purchasing a vehicle, it does. This is anecdotal, but I've had a number of people come up to me, and I also strongly believe this has got to be statistically true as well. If you take half the population of the country of the United States and you alienate them specifically through political speech and everything, which again, he has every right to do. I'm not arguing that he doesn't have a right to do that. But the problem is, if you're going to be that outspoken about it, you're going to piss people off. If you piss people off, there has got to be an effect on this. It has got to have a statistically negative effect on people willing to purchase Teslas. And again, I can only speak anecdotally because I know people who have told me this, but it is a lot of people that have told me this, and it's a growing number. 3 years ago, nobody said that. Everyone was very on board with Teslas and everything. Nowadays, it is quite a few people who have told me. I have a feeling in the comments, I'm both going to get hate mail from people who are like, you're the worst person in the world, but also probably comments from people going like, yeah, I'm another one of those people who won't purchase a Tesla, or at least strongly disinclined to purchase a Tesla due to what Elon Musk has been saying for the past 6 months to a year. And I know a lot of you know our trials and tribulations about getting a Cybertruck. One of the big tribulations about that was, did we want to make a political statement by driving this thing around? This is clearly an Elon Musk vehicle, and we are therefore clearly backing his vision, according to a lot of people. I've been flipped off by quite a few people in Athens recently by driving this truck. Now, I know some of them are just flipping me off because they hate, the idea of an electric truck and they think it's a bad idea. But there's a likelihood that other people are associating that truck with Elon Musk, and it's unfortunate because I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk. I love everything that he's done. I think that his heart is in the right place. He's built companies that are to the betterment of society, but this is a situation where I think he has gone too public and too one-sided. There are measured ways of talking about this stuff. If you look at most CEOs, and I know Elon Musk is a techno king, he is not a CEO, but if you look at the way most CEOs are behaving right now, and I'm even including CEOs of companies who I strongly disagree with, like Chick-fil-A, I really, really hate the management and the CEOs. I very much believe in the opposite of what they stand for. But even if you look at them, they're relatively quiet about things right now, because the purpose of a business is to sell products to the customers, and you don't want to alienate half of your customers. You want to keep them happy. Elon Musk has always been the guy who does what he wants, and that's okay, but you can't say that there are no consequences to these actions. There are definitely consequences to it. Again, anecdotally, I know a lot of people that have told me that, and the growing number of them recently who said they will never purchase a Tesla due to what Elon Musk has done. It's significant. It's gotten to be pretty big. I don't talk to people every day about this stuff. This is not a common topic of conversation, and yet it comes up more and more and more recently. But then just the statistical obviousness of, if you piss off half the country, if you tell half the country that they're fascists and they're communists and that they're doing the worst thing in the world for America, it's going to have an effect. Now, I can't speak about outside of the United States, so I've been very careful to keep this localized to the US, but I have a feeling that it is having an effect like that outside of the United States as well. So if anybody from outside the US wants to leave a comment and let me know how things are going outside the US, maybe everybody loves him out there and nobody hates him, and that's fine. I don't know, but I know inside the United States that this has become a very, very tumultuous time, and Elon Musk has gone very much to one side of the political spectrum, and it is going to have an effect on Tesla's sales. So let us now circle back from the edge of that precipice of doom and desperation and everything to talk about why you should still consider purchasing a Tesla. Number one, of course, is what James Dalma said. You will be safer, and the numbers are very, very clear. You will be about 14 times safer purchasing a Tesla and using their automated driver assistance features. That is just the way it is. That's the facts. Second of all, the car is more affordable than you might think, and even a used car, several-year-old used car, a 2020, still gets these updates and still has these safety features. So it's not like you have to purchase the new most expensive vehicle. And by the way, of course, if you purchase a used Tesla, you're not directly giving money to Tesla at all. You're giving money to CarMax or the individual who owned the vehicle before you, or an auto dealership, a Volkswagen dealership, whoever has the car, right? So whoever owns that car right now, that's the person you're giving money to. So you're not directly giving it to Tesla. But then if you want a new vehicle and you still have trepidation about purchasing a Tesla, remember that Tesla has over 100,000 employees all around the world world. You're supporting, in the United States in particular, the most American-made car brand in the US is Tesla. They manufacture most of their parts in the United States, or at least more than anybody else does. So that's a good thing. If you're in China, it's one of the most Chinese-made cars because they locally source things. In Europe, you can get a very highly European-made vehicle because, of course, they build it in Berlin, in Germany. So you get a vehicle that is locally manufactured. It helps out local industry. A lot of people work for this company. Again, you know, if you have 100,000 people, there's going to be a big political spectrum of what people believe. So you're not just purchasing a car from Elon Musk. In fact, hardly at all. He's the techno king of Tesla, but he is just one employee. So you're helping out a lot of people. In fact, they could be your neighbors. They could be people who live down the street from you, and not just if you live in California or Texas, but all around the country, there are Tesla showrooms and everything. There are Tesla manufacturing plants. There's a lot of stuff all around the country. So you never know. You could be supporting your neighbor by purchasing a Tesla. So it's just a way of thinking about it. This is not an all or nothing sort of deal. You're not either supporting Elon Musk or unsupporting him. You're purchasing a vehicle from a company that has a lot of employees who obviously will have a broad spectrum of political beliefs. So when you do that, you're supporting the company, not an individual. Now, is this going to convince everyone to purchase a Tesla? No, I think some people are so upset by what Elon Musk has done that not only won't they purchase one now, but they will never purchase one. So even 5 years from now, even if things are completely different in 5 years, they won't even consider it because they're so upset. But for those who are a little bit more, let's say, in the middle and like, okay, yeah, I don't like what he's doing right now, but I prefer to think about the safety of my family and supporting an American company or a European company or a Chinese company, depending on where you are, a locally made vehicle that supports a lot of workers in your area. If you are one of those people who's on the fence, then just think about the fact that this vehicle is safer than any other vehicle on the road, and you can help your parents, yourself, your spouse, your children, whomever, to be safer and to have a good experience. They're not just safe cars, they're a lot of fun cars as well. So you can have both an enjoyable and a safe experience at the same time, and I think that's really worth considering purchasing a Tesla for. All right, so yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Please try to be nice and constructive about it. I'm not looking for firestorms in the comments. If you want to be constructive and tell me to go pound sand or something like that, that's fine. But please just try to tell me in a constructive way, because I think that's useful. And for everybody who agrees with me, do it in a kind way if you want to leave comments and everything. But definitely let me know what you think. I would be really interested. I will try to put on my fireproof, clothes before I read the comments and everything. But I will do my best to read through them and all that. And of course, if you're so inclined, please do like this video and consider subscribing for more of this kind of content, because it really does help out the channel. And I really do appreciate it. And I hope you will at least understand that this took a lot of mental preparation to create a video like this. This was not something that I didn't just think of it off the cuff and just do it 5 minutes later. I've been thinking about this for weeks and perhaps months. So this is something that's been a long time coming. So do understand that. I really have thought about that, and I've tried to be relatively balanced. So hopefully you felt like I've been relatively balanced about this while still expressing my case. Anyway, no matter what, I hope you found this thought-provoking and helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.